Because really what the thing that you're fighting for in Overwatch, it's not kills, it's time. What you're fighting for is time. It is the ultimate objective. Hey everybody, so the content's going to be a little bit different for the next couple of days. Basically, I'm under a shelter-in-place order in Dallas, Texas, and I don't have access to my regular streaming setup or recording studio at the NV headquarters, which is where I usually do my content. So instead, I've got a temporary PC setup and a very kind of bare-bones installation of OBS, but in the meantime, just to make sure that I don't go crazy from boredom during this quarantine, I've asked viewers to submit some replays using the new replay viewer. They've got shareable codes now, so that's pretty cool. And instead of doing kind of full-blown VOD reviews, I thought I'd do kind of rapid fire in order to get through more of them. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is trying to find kind of the one thing that I think that the people who submit these replays need to improve on in order to rank up. So just one thing to get to the next rank, and whether we call this series Keys to Success or whatever, I don't know. So basically, the replay today is submitted by the Admiral. This is a high silver Reinhardt VOD, so we're looking at about the 1900 SR range. This is going to be a map on Volskaya. I've already watched the game through, and the thing that we're going to be focusing on today is positioning, specifically positioning in order to manage resources. So the very first point of Volskaya, and really on any 2CP map at all, the main thing that you want to be doing when you are playing tank is trying to find an area where the opponent is going to bleed through resources or have to spend a lot of effort in order to really do anything at all. You want to make it really difficult because all of the 2CP maps, TCP, everyone thinks it's kind of a trash game mode, and the reason is that it's very, very asymmetric in terms of the actual map geometry. So you have to take advantage of the map geometry to its fullest to make sure that attackers specifically can't get anything for free, specifically map control. When you're on the attack, you want to mitigate that as much as possible through rotations, transitions, this sort of thing. So that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at the first point defense, second point defense, and this did go to extra rounds, so there was a pretty cool teleport on the second round, and I'll show kind of how the Reinhardt should have reacted to that compared to how he actually did.
3,
so,
2, 1. Attackers incoming.
The very first thing that I always like to talk about, specifically when we're dealing with Reinhardts, is the fact that your shield can provide cover, but it doesn't replace cover. It's a lot better to think of your shield as augmenting cover, and really what you want to be doing is creating a safe zone for your allies, and then what your allies are going to be doing is projecting danger, basically. They threaten areas in front of you. So you don't actually have to put the space that you want to protect behind you, which is really quite a lot of Reinhardts think that they need to do, is that if they want this space, they have to put their shield in front of it, and it's kind of like, this is my space. My space is behind me, you can't have it. And really what you want to do is you want to kind of, instead of protecting space, you want to funnel the opponent into space that is dangerous and your opponent and your allies can actually threaten. So look at this positioning right off the bat. This is kind of what I'm talking about with the Admiral, is when he's holding up at this choke here. Right here, right? So he's kind of used, the cover that he's augmenting is going to be that little brick wall there. Let's see if I can actually pull up. Can I do that? How do I do this? Man, new setups are the worst. So this is one of the things that I'm talking about, is the Admiral has taken kind of this box of space back here, and he said that this is mine, it's behind my shield, you can't have it, right? But this is bad for a couple reasons. The first is that the Admiral is up here right away, and this is going to allow the opponent, without even pushing through the choke or putting themselves in any real danger, to put a lot of pressure onto him. The next thing is that if you are going to be using cover, your closest cover or closest corner is going to be right here, but that angle isn't good enough and people can spam you still. So this isn't going to be a good enough position to actually recover any of your resources, regenerate, and hold this position. So with the added spam and the no ability to actually regenerate your own resources, this position is simply indefensible for long periods of time. Additionally to that, you're not really actually granting your team that much. You've got a soldier, again, a soldier's already died, which is pretty impressive, honestly. It's been 10 seconds, but this is silver, so we don't question these things. But if you are going to be, your soldier's probably going to be on the high ground, or your Genji's going to be on this box here, but you going here doesn't actually give your DPS, or your Zarya, really. Your Zarya's on a completely different angle, which even if she wasn't, it's not going to really, this position that's really aggressive hold isn't going to allow your team to actually get any extra value. Additionally, if I was the enemy Reinhardt here and I saw that the opponent was really guarding the left side quite frantically, really all I have to do is shield here and then move so that I'm shielding here and have my teammates transition in through this little gap here, and then this is completely negated this space that you're trying to hold. You hold this space so aggressively, you completely give up this space for free, and the opponent can just move in through a pretty difficult choke to deal with. So a much better position for you to actually stay is going to be right here behind the truck. There's a couple different reasons for this, but the first being that you are going to be able to equally threaten both sides. If anybody tries to walk through, you can kind of move in, fight them, and then go back to recover. It's much safer, is that you can, regardless of where the opponent is, you can find areas where you can take less damage, recover your shield, recover your health, regardless of what it is. So if the opponent moves here, you can react to it. If the opponent moves here, you can react to that as well. So little things like this is allowing you to threaten these areas instead of trying to hold it for yourself, because this is a very binary decision, and after you've made this decision, the opponent can react to it. So you always want to keep as many options available in your repertoire as possible. Today's video is sponsored by iBotter. iBotter is a cashback reward app. All you do is download the app, find details, and scan your receipts. The money saved will be added straight into your account, and you can withdraw savings to Venmo, PayPal, or gift cards. Plus, you can even get a $20 sign-up bonus by using the link in the description below. It's 100% free and works on all your favorite stores: Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, Uber. So if you use any of those stores, well, like most people do, then you really won't have to change much to actually start getting the benefits. $20 sign-up bonus. Thank you so much for iBotter for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to find more, the link is again in the description. Please check it out and let me know what you think. Okay, let's take a look at the second point, which is going to be a similar positioning error. Okay, so we're going to do this this fight a little bit differently, because I'm going to be talking about what you should have done before I actually play the clip, and then you can kind of see what actually happened here from the Admiral. Okay, so the first thing is that these two corners here, so there's this corner here and then this corner here, are extremely aggressive options. Now, these positions aren't necessarily bad, but they're going to be extremely situational. So they're good corners because they can allow you to do things like peak fire striking. So as the opponent is walking up, for example, you can use this corner to make sure you have vision, to make sure you're putting out fire strikes, because you're only at 37% to your hammer right now. Wouldn't need to be doing that if you're already at your hammer, unless you want to pretend that you don't have it. Make sure you're not telegraphing too hard. But at this position, really you're only going to be going fighting in this location if you do want to land those fire strikes. This isn't going to be a position that you really want to actually hold at, specifically because it gives the opponent a great advantage as well, and the fact that if you have to retreat, they can use this same cover while you retreat. So this is going to be a common theme, is that you don't want to use cover that is going to be symmetric, and you don't want to use cover that requires you to retreat into dangerous territory, because then if you do have to retreat, you're going to be in some pretty hefty trouble. Now, this second corner here that I put an X on is also extremely aggressive, and this can be good for kind of poking, but you never really want to stay here for any large durations of time. As soon as the opponent is kind of poking here, especially if you do have these longer range and you're not playing something like a Mei that is going to be isolating this gap here, you would be doing, again, just for pokes, just for hammer swings, trying to get a little bit of resource out of the opponent before you're going to be backing to this red box right here in this territory. So this is going to be great because it might be kind of minor cover, but it's really, really quite good, because the space that you're going to be threatening is this area. So this is the area that the opponent is going to have to go through again. So there's the choke, and then the space immediately after that choke is really, really great space to threaten, because the opponent has to push through at this time. If you're holding here, the space that you're threatening is this, but the rest of your team can't really assist you with actually putting pressure on the opponent when they're in this location. And if you're here, then you're in this area, and unless you do have a soldier on the high ground up here, which you do have a soldier, he's not going to be able to do much. Just a little additional thought here is that if you do have, this position's really aggressive, you can use it for your fire strikes, but if you don't want to kind of do those fire strikes, or you can even do them from here, it's really not a big deal, is that these kind of temporary positions where if you wanted, for example, to put a lot of pressure on the opponent while they're simply walking up to get ready to move through the choke, you can sit here with your soldier. So we'll say that this is the soldier and this is you, and then this will just give the soldier a lot more safety to make sure he doesn't have to use his healing station, and he can just spam like crazy. And then as soon as they get close here, you can just be like, whoop, hop down, and move this corner, and then rotate kind of back to this area back here where you're going to be, again, like the point of using this cover is to make sure that you're losing as little resource as possible, and the opponent is having to use more resources, being that health, being that cooldowns, things of that variety. You want to get to the point where simply your positioning is going to cause the opponent to lose more health, more barrier health over time than you do. And if the opponent is going to be kind of bleeding out over resources over time, if they don't do anything, they're going to have to A, act faster, or B, use cooldown. And if you can force the opponent to use cooldowns without having to use any of your own, you're already at a huge advantage. So there's this kind of like trying to gain advantage over the kind of the usage of resources over time to a point where a person has to act faster so they make mistakes, or use cooldowns so they lack in options, and then if they use cooldowns, you can use cooldowns, and then if you use cooldowns and they don't have cooldowns, the only way that they react to it is, you know, theoretically like death or ultimate or backup. So keep more options, keep more resources, and win the game. So this is what you want to be doing, because when you're back here, you can kind of just swing, force them, taunt them to come back in, and then once they're kind of, if the Reinhardt does manage to push up all the way through here, right here, then you can just fight him here. And if, for example, things go wrong, then your rotate does have to kind of be back into this area. So that's how you would play this first point on Reinhardt, but let's see how this actually happens. Okay, so you're up here, you're fire striking, that's fine. There's zero point to be anywhere farther than that corner, especially shielding. Like, you've got a lot of natural cover, and nobody here should be dying. There's no reason for you to hard shield here. So you're already losing more resources than you want to. Okay, you're backing up. They're also using a lot of, like, their shield is literally below half here. Fire strike trade, gets your Zarya, but up. Like, their shield's already broken here. And McCree got a flank, doesn't find anything. You know, your shield's also half health here. This is another thing, like, you should be keeping your shield way higher here. Okay, and you're still hard shielding here, so nobody's at threat of death. You can tank a couple of these shots. Like, you even still have armor, so even if it's a headshot from McCree, like, oh no, the only thing that happened is you gave both of your supports ult charge, and since they don't have ults, well, that's not exactly a bad trade. Bubbles were already used. His shield's still low. He's still in here. McCree lands some pretty nice shots here, and then you charge in. So this is going to be a bit of a problem. So this is the area where you've gone directly into them. You know, there's no real point for you to charge here. You've lost one, so now you're using a cooldown after you're already at a disadvantage, fighting in a disadvantageous location. You back off, the flash lands, barely survive here. And then now they have a little bit of advantage, and they're going to be moving in, and your shield's already low. So instead of kind of trying to back to cover, you stand in the open here. And you're hard shielding. Who are you shielding here? If the answer to the question, who are you shielding, is yourself, the answer is wrong, and you should change what you're doing.
This was real.
Okay, now your barrier is broken. So if your barrier was broken here, the thing that you could be doing is just literally like hopping around this red box here. And you can, Reinhardt can look over it, he can fire strike over it, and you can just taunt the person. Like, what are you gonna do? You got my shield broken. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. You don't have to fight the opponent here, especially on defense. The longer that the fights are, the more value that you get, because really what the thing that you're fighting for in Overwatch, it's not kills, it's time. What you're fighting for is time. It is the ultimate objective. When somebody hits 0 seconds, whatever they got accomplished during that is whatever they got accomplished. So slowing fights down, slowing the pace of fights, especially on defense, you don't want to force things, especially when you're at a disadvantage here. You got this spot, it's putting you in a pretty dangerous position. You're right in here. Charging. I do like the amount of charges. He charges back in because you didn't have the ability to countercharge that. They got a high ground, high noon. So you really don't have to be, there's not some crazy advice here to kind of like be better at your charges, or make sure that you're tilting your camera 15 degrees or anything like that in order to make sure that your hammer swings are landing 14 milliseconds faster or anything like that. Literally just fighting in areas where the opponent is going to lose more resources than you lose over time, so it forces them to act fast, make mistakes, or use cooldowns before you do. That's really all you need to do to win games. So just as a little bonus here, we're going to be taking a look at what to do in case the opponent does a little teleport play here. So the opponent is going to be running Symmetra Reaper, and they do this little teleport trick over at the end. Now, the first thing here is that you should be seeing this. You should be able to see that. Yeah. So, my opponents are gone. Where could they possibly have... Yeah, so you're here. You fire strike the teleporter, just for morale, I guess. Now, your reaction here... Your Zarya's already reacted to her. I guess you should actually draw instead of just pointing at the screen. Okay, your Zarya's already reacted here. And this is already an interesting location for your Zarya to be. And you're going to react to this by joining her, if I do remember correctly. So you're like, yep, she teleported, and then you come over here. Now, when we're thinking about what you want to be doing over time, so we were talking previously about being in a position where the opponent is going to lose more resources than you over time. This is going to be a really difficult thing for you to do because you're trying to fight them here, and if you try and push in, they're going to have a much easier job of killing you than your team does of killing them, right? So this choke is very, very neutral and super hard. Like, imagine if this little doorway here was, the choke of 2CP. That would be the most brutal hard choke of your life, because nobody can really push through this choke without dying. So this is just... You don't know. So the opponents, first of all, they've got a much better option, right? So they don't have to push through here. The only way that that door would be used is if pressure and the tension has been taken way off of it and it's moved into a different area. Man, I really hate the noise of the thing being taken. But anyway, so the opponent is going to be using their shields here to take this location. Now, this location is going to allow them to threaten a lot of stuff. And if you try and fight them from here, if you try and fight them on the point here, really anywhere that they have this high ground, because they can retreat and they can regenerate, or any of their resources if they get low, if they get pressured. If you land like 1 or 2 shots on them and the third would kill them, it doesn't matter, they crouch backed up. Using the power of high ground, imagine. So the only real option that you have here is to take away the advantage that they really have. Now, they can control... So they can control pretty much all of this area just based off of controlling this high ground here. So the only option that you have is playing the objective and not being here at all. This is just horrific. What you want to be doing is move all the way around and play just so that you can have like one teensy tiny toe on the objective. And the way that you remove this advantage is the fact that this advantage is only a precursor to actually winning the game. To win the game, they actually need to be on the objective. So if you ever see this rotation, you can't try and prevent them from taking the high ground. The teleporter is going to allow them to get there faster. The way that you do it is you're going to be playing, right here, there's a mega right here that you can use to have your backline safely in it. They can use this high ground through the staircase as a retreat, or if things get real bad, you can use this corner, for example, and then just kind of like contest the point by putting your pinky toe here. That gives you a retreat not onto a mega or anything like that, but it still gives you at least the ability to force the opponent off the high ground to contest this point. So they do actually a great move, and they drop to make sure that you have to push into them. So this forces you to be proactive because the resources that they are gaining are not only going to be objective progress, but also your backline isn't very safe. They've got a great ability to put a lot of spam damage on you. You're close range. They've got a Symmetra and a Reaper. This is pretty shit. Now, this is going to be forcing you to go in, so you've got no option. You've got to go in. They've got double barriers. You have to make a play. Soldier does a good play on the little flank, trying to make sure that the opponent's double shield advantage is removed a little bit. You're pushing in.
30 seconds Dein Schutzengel!
And predictably, things do not go in your favor. So these are the sort of situations where fights are very often won or lost before they even began, especially on 2CP. So the fact that the opponent simply teleported, took the high ground from you, and you didn't react in time means that you were losing resources faster than they were. Because of that, you were in a bad position. You had to make a play, but you really had no good plays to make. It was desperation, and you ended up dying.
10 seconds remaining. Objective lost.
Moral of the
New
story
defense
here is
point.
there's nothing
Objective
wrong
B.
with nothing. Don't try and force things. Kind of funnel the opponent into a location where they're going to lose more resources than you over time so that you can win without actually having to swing your hammer at all. That's really all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the little tidbits. Let me know if you have any comments, follow-up. I'll keep an eye on the comment section. But yeah, expect more of these over the next couple days. Do pardon the scuff with the microphone, because yeah, this is the setup that I've got while I'm under the shelter in place order in Dallas. So hope you're staying safe, happy, and healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.